Welcome to the Feeding Hour. In this episode, we invite Emily Swan on to share her journey with her 2 young kids, filled with poor latches, weight loss, and tongue ties, to 2 healthy, intuitive eating children. Emily's story is a testament to making informed decisions and following your intuition as a mother. We can't wait to share Emily's story with you. Enjoy. Hey, Abby.
Hi, Catherine. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Great.
Good. I'm so excited to have our guest today. Would you mind introducing her?
Yes, this is Emily from the Love of Breastfeeding, and we're so excited to have her today. She is an IBCLC, started out her career as a nurse, and she has a master's in nutrition, and she's a mom of 2, and she has a really unique perspective on just kind of holistic lifestyle, nutrition, body work, just breastfeeding in general. So I'm so excited to hear about her feeding journeys today and her expertise.
Thank y'all so much for having me.
Yeah, welcome, Emily.
Yeah.
We'd love to start out just by telling us who you are and a little bit about your feeding journeys with your children. Take it from
Totally.
here.
Yeah. Well, like they said, my name's Emily. I run the Love of Breastfeeding on Instagram. My business is for the Love of Breastfeeding. I do virtual appointments, some in-person appointments when people want to make the trip. We were just talking about my farm. I live like 45 minutes outside the city. So like the people on like the southeast side, it's like 20 minutes. So they'll kind of make a trip for me. Sometimes
Okay.
people will make a trip from far, I guess, sometimes. But I try not to offer too many in person because I'm too busy. But and then I have a body work course that is like designed to improve breastfeeding outcomes mostly. So that's me in a nutshell. And I have 2 kids. Sully is almost 4, and it's crazy to say that I have a 4-year-old. That means I've been almost a mom for 4 years, which sounds so long now. And then Bowie is 18 months. So yeah, they're, the most important, best part of my life. And I was just on a podcast recently, and so this is fresh in my mind. My feeding journey with Solly, my daughter, was so hard. I was a labor and delivery nurse at the time, and I had started in the NICU, and so I felt this like totally fabricated, egotistical, like idea that like breastfeeding was going to be easy for me because number one, it was really important to me. Like I told my husband that it was a non-negotiable that my kids would be breastfed.
Mm-hmm.
And number 2, I was like, I've worked with like premature babies and gotten them to breastfeed. Like, of course, this will be nothing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I had a really hard birth. I had planned a home birth. I was in labor for days and days and days and like excruciating pain. And so I went to the hospital where I worked. It was such a relief. It's, I've talked about this so many times on other podcasts, so I'll like spare the birth details and get into feeding, but like I was so unaligned from like what I thought I wanted. Like I thought I wanted this home birth, but I was working 36 hours a week in a really medicalized hospital, like a inner city labor and delivery, where it's like I almost never even saw someone not on Pitocin, like let alone not an epidural, but like everyone on Pitocin, a lot of C-sections. So my midwife kept saying like, it's going to be really hard for you to have a home birth because you're living in this environment. And she was totally right. So I felt a lot of relief when I got to the hospital. I felt a lot of relief seeing like people in scrubs. Like I was like, thank God, like I'm safe now. And it was very interesting. And that really set up like just a whole slew of things where I felt really incapable as a mom. Breastfeeding was so hard. My daughter was a vacuum delivery eventually, and I didn't, but that will impair cranial nerves associated with suck, swallow, breathe. So she would try to latch, and she just looked like a fish that was like sitting on me. She wasn't doing anything. And it was really frustrating because I kept expressing to all the professionals, she's not nursing. And they're like, yes, she is, because she appeared to have a good latch. But there was no muscle involvement. There was no, there was nothing going on. And I'm sure you guys are familiar with in-hospital lactation. They just see too many people. They're so busy. Like they were pretty much looking at me from the door. They knew I worked there. They weren't concerned about me. They were like, "You're fine. She's fine. You're doing great."
So hard to be dismissed so early in your journey.
It really, really is. And if I do nothing else when I see a mom, I try and validate what she's going through. At the very least,
there's a problem, there's probably a problem.
there's probably a problem. And it's like, you know, on some level, we have like this like massive issue with like maternal anxiety where like there are women with like intrusive thoughts and like they're like so worried about their supply. So on some level, it's like, I promise you, you're okay. But
Right.
on another level, when a mom is like, no, seriously, there's something wrong, we don't dismiss that. Like that is like red flag number one. They're saying something's wrong. So I got home and I had so much breast milk. Like I've always been a big eater. I was just telling them before the show. I was vegan when I was pregnant. I was super sick. Vegan, vomiting every day, but I am an eater. I will eat. I've never been one of those girls that's like, let me just have a rice cake for breakfast. Like I am going to eat. And I truly think that that will set up a good milk supply in most situations. So I had so much milk, which helped because she wasn't nursing at all. So I was just like flooding her. And so she was bare minimum, like with the ½ ounce a day weight gain. But I still kept telling all these people, she's not nursing. Like, I felt like I was like dinging a bell, like, hello, no, like, no one is listening. She's
Oh
not
my gosh.
Screaming.
So were you pumping at all during this, or you were just your supply was just like helping her along because it was so
pouring? And I tell moms all the time, if you bring your baby to breast every time they want to nurse and you keep them skin to skin, at least in that first 2 weeks, you will probably save your milk supply. Even if their latch is terrible, that is like bare minimum to save your supply. And that's very true. Like she was not nursing even a tiny bit, and I still managed to not have to pump in that time. It was just because I kept every like hour trying and trying and trying, and the body recognizes that. So
yeah,
at like the 2 week mark, she started latching very, very little, like sometimes, like, and then we got into the situation where like it was like, is she going to do it this time? Is she not? And she would scream a lot. And so before every feed, I would get like so much anxiety. Like I'd be like feeling sick to my stomach thinking about, I would just be up at night like, oh my gosh, she's going to need to eat again in 30 minutes. What am I going to do? Like it was very stressful. And
was it painful when she was latching, or
No.
you were just so anxious that she wasn't nursing?
She would get really frustrated. And so then I would get more anxious. She would cry. And so it would be like on and off and on and off the crying. And but no, never painful because she was hardly doing anything. She was
Right.
She was not compressing any nipple or breast tissue at all.
Oh my gosh.
So when she was on the breast, she was just kind of like you said.
She would do the like butterfly thing sometimes.
Okay.
And honestly, because I had so much milk, sometimes that would just help. But she was living off my letdown. She was like barely, every once in a while she would nurse like semi-okay. And so I had it in my head, like she can do it. But like each feed was like, are we going to do it? Or are we going to cry for an hour?
Yeah. Oh,
and
that's so tough.
It was really stressful and like a really painful birth. Had like a 3rd-degree tear. I was in so much pain. I felt really alone, like, you know, first time mom, like I felt like no one understood what I was going through. And I was seeing lots of people, like I saw outpatient IBCLCs. I saw the pediatrician who had an IBCLC, you know, name attached to her, but I didn't know that that means they don't practice any sort of breastfeeding help. And so she, from her clipboard, also told me Sully was nursing fine. And so I was like going crazy. Like, if this is what breastfeeding is, then this is terrible. I hate this. It's like,
oh my gosh. Good. I just want to say I relate to this story so much. And it was at the same time, my son's also almost 4. And like I was being dismissed by all these providers too. And I just feel like when you're in that situation, you're just kind of like, you're like, am I going crazy? Because you're like, well, I know I want to breastfeed. I know this is important to me. But number 2, like if everyone's telling me it's fine, but it's not fine, like, that's just so frustrating.
So stressful. And moms have such a soft spot in my heart when they're going through something like that, because it's like and it's in our biology to breastfeed these babies. So it's like we're doing literally everything we can and it's not working. And it's just, and then you see people and they're like, I did finally see someone. I think I was week 3 postpartum. She was a good lactation consultant. She didn't do any intraoral like, evaluation. So she wasn't like
So well trained. Yeah.
yes, but she was very kind, and she had been doing it a long time, and she goes, "Oh yeah, that baby's not nursing." And I was like,
Thank
"Thank
you.
you."
I'm not crazy.
Like, it was seriously that I left that visit, and that at this point Zoe was like not gaining a lot of weight too, because we're at week 2, so it's like you can't just go on like that forever. And I would burst into tears. I was like, thank you so much. And she was so kind and so wonderful. Her name was Lois, and she held my hand and she said, "How long do you want to nurse for?" And I was so weepy, and I said, "As long as she wants. Like, I'll nurse this child until she goes to college if she wants to." And she was like, "You're gonna be okay. It's gonna like," because and I agree with her that there is a level of like, I am gonna do this. I am not gonna stop breastfeeding. And she said, "Go home, make her live skin to skin, do a lot of breast compression, and we'll check back in." So like that is not fixing the problem, I just have to say, but it does help.
Still a Band-Aid, but it mentally got you through.
So it was like, just we were like an inch further, and that made me feel better. So, and then right around that time too, there was one night where she just was so screamy. I was getting really stressed, and my husband like was trying to be helpful, gave her a bottle, and I felt like someone had stabbed me in my heart. Like he was really trying to help. Like I like went downstairs and I came back up and he was giving her a bottle, and I was like, "Oh my God, like
Get that away."
I was devastated. And my midwife had come over to check on us, and she said, like, if you give her a bottle now, you're not coming back from that. Like, there's no coming back from like bottles right now. And she's absolutely right. But I still felt just really alone. Like I had to like figure it out, or we weren't gonna do it.
Why do you think that she was so why do you think they were so scared to even try a bottle, like just in the meantime and pump? Or were you like just so committed to trying to do it without?
I think, well, my home birth midwife was very, very, very holistic. Like they're like anti-pumping, which is, I don't want to pump either. And I don't want to give pumping to someone who doesn't want to do it. But looking back on it, it's possible that like pumping and bottle feeding might have been like
another Band-Aid, maybe.
But I do agree that because she was able to nurse sometimes, my midwife was essentially saying, like, if you give in and you start doing some bottles, you're taking the easy way out. And then anytime she has a hard feed, you're going to want to do a bottle. And I kind of agree. Like she needed to like persevere. And that's not the case for every baby, especially if you are like teetering on your supply. You got like, I'm sorry, but like you have to do some like pumping. Otherwise,
but you still had the supply that
I still had the supply. Yeah. So, and I truly like wasn't concerned about her weight. I was more concerned about the fact that she was screaming every time I tried to nurse her. Like that it was so stressful for her and so stressful for me that I was like, this seems not right. I don't care what she weighs. Like she will eventually gain weight, you know? And so I wasn't super, the pediatrician was more concerned, but I wasn't concerned about that.
Yeah.
So at right around 4 weeks is like a switch flipped. Most of our feeds were better. I was totally in alignment with my midwife. Like I just need to keep powering through.
Nice.
But then she started having severe silent reflux because she's not really nursing. She's just gulping. And she's got like a pretty severe, I didn't know this at the time, lip tie, tongue tie too, obviously, but like the lip was really bad. And that's usually associated with that silent reflux because they don't have a good seal, swallowing a lot of air. And so I can't remember all the details. I know I put her, per the pediatrician, on some sort of reflux medication in like desperation because she was still screaming every time I tried to nurse her. She would not take a bottle at this point. We had like missed our window. She wouldn't take a bottle, but she hated breastfeeding. So it was like, it was very stressful. She hated the car seat. She only wanted just me to hold her, but like not try and breastfeed her. And so she would wait till she was like starving, and then she would do it, and then she would have the reflux. And it was really, I didn't leave my house very much. I was like, yeah, it was pretty tragic. And that is when I didn't know that there were lactation consultants that came to your house. So I found through a friend, a lactation consultant that was really well known in Charlotte. She came to my house. She actually worked on the same labor and delivery unit as me a long time ago. I didn't know her then. We like knew all the same people. I was in my master's program to get a master's degree in public health nutrition. And she was, chit-chatting. I truly remember being like, why is this woman chit-chatting with me so much? Like, I am suffering. And like, she's so chatty. She's like, la, 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 your plants are dying. I'm like, of course my plants are dying. I'm like, all I can think about is this baby that I'm breastfeeding. Like, and she was so wonderful. She went in my daughter's mouth. She showed me exactly what the problem was. Her tongue wouldn't lateralize. It wouldn't move side to side. It wouldn't manipulate breast tissue. Like, she made everything click so much.
Mm-hmm.
So crystal clear. And then she said, and she has the tongue and lip tie. She said, you got to get it revised or the reflux isn't going to go away. And I love this woman. She ended up being my mentor, but I like so vehemently disagreed with her. I was like, I'm not doing that. Like, and that's where my practice was born. I was like, because so like picture, like, you guys just heard the whole story, but like picture like a mom who's like, I will breastfeed or I will die. That's like what I was thinking. So I'm doing that for like 4 months. I'm like totally crazy. My husband doesn't even know who I am anymore. The baby cries all the time. But I'm like doing it. Like, I'm like, I'm not giving up. I'm going to breastfeed. And then she says, okay, if you want to keep breastfeeding, you got to get her released. And like immediately I was like, no.
And you're just hearing like cutting my baby's tongue. Like, what am I like? This is the worst thing.
I appreciate you showing me what was going on in her mouth. That makes sense to me. But no. And what I said to her was, I was like, but here's the thing. I was like, sometimes every once in a while, she has a good feed and she doesn't get the reflux after. And so I said, I know that it is possible. We just haven't figured out like how to do it all the time yet. And it was like, and I know this now as a lactation coach, she was like, well, she gets tired because she works too hard and yada, yada. And I was like, no, I was like, I just know that we can fix this. And so she said, okay. She said, would you like to become a lactation consultant and be my student?
That's
amazing.
So
it was so funny. I was like, what? No, I hate this. I hate breastfeeding. And she was like, no, you're going to be really good. You should be a lactation consultant. And I was like, okay. So literally like in 1 hour of seeing her, I like signed up to take my lactation IBCLC like class. She got me situated on like how we were going to fix solely without the release. Cause I was like, I'm not doing it.
Wow.
And yeah, it was like so incredible. And when I came downstairs and like told my husband about the appointment, he was like, I'm sorry, what?
What happened? Like now you're changing your career? Yeah.
Yeah. But it was perfect because I was like, I'm not going back to work. I'm not leaving her for 12-hour shifts.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, we're not really a single income family. And I was like, we are currently right now because
right now
and it was just so cool. I mean, it literally felt like I was like learning like lactation, like educationally at the same time that I was learning it like personally.
Yeah.
So much about my daughter and her body. And this is why I'm obsessed with the body work, because I started to notice that like it was her body, like it was not her mouth, even though what Melissa showed me in her mouth made sense. I was like, it's more than that, because what I found, like I was saying, like sometimes it works is if I nursed her side lying and I literally took her body and like slid it down so that she had so much space here that she wouldn't have the reflux after. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, and I'm not like, I was like, I'm not like a good lactation consultant. I wasn't even like, licensed yet. And I'm like, how did I figure this out?
Because you were following your intuition. That's amazing.
My daughter. And so it's like the most important thing in the world to me that I figure out what's wrong with her, because it was also at this point, I'm like learning so many things. I'm like, she's sleeping with her mouth open all the time. The mouth breathing is horrible. Everyone's like, that means she needs a frenectomy. I'm like, I'm not doing the frenectomy. So let's figure out how to fix this without that. And like, it just was so much was clicking for me for that year. that I felt like my brain was going to explode all the time.
And then you have like this little, like, you know, obviously your personal experience, but also like a test case
That's
to work
literally,
with.
yes. And I felt like she was like teaching me, like she was like showing with each thing, like, cause then she needed to crawl, but she was doing this like one-sided movement. And I was like, intuitively, she needs to move both hands, but like she can only move on that right side. And so it's like, okay, well, let's stretch out that left side. Like, I don't know how to do that, but I'm going to give it a go. And then literally within 2 days, she started crawling, like so intuitive, so amazing. And I got my IBCLC. I did a year of like mentorship with Melissa. She is like phenomenal. She would bring me to like the home births so that I could offer these people another option for a frenectomy. Because if they didn't want one, she was like, I think you need to have one, but Emily doesn't. So why don't you like continue working with Emily?
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
really,
amazing.
she's so wonderful. Like a very
So you never had to do it. You were able to do it all with body work with her.
Yes. And I'm not gonna lie, and I tell moms this when they like buy my course, because my course is very like focused on like preventing those like airway issues if you have the, you know, tongue tie diagnosis. It's not an overnight fix. Like you don't go to anywhere and just overnight, even if you get the frenectomy, that is not an overnight fix either. And so with Sully, I think it was like a whole year before she was really most of the time sleeping with her mouth closed. And she even started to develop the tonsils and adenoids situation because, you know, she was like 2 years old of mouth breathing. But I was like, I'm going to keep an eye on it, but I still think that we're going to like get past this. And we did. And so now she's almost 4. Every night the mouth is closed and the tonsils and adenoids have shrunk. Like, it's just truly so remarkable. I could talk about it forever.
Okay, so a follow-up question to like when you're feeding her, just as like a, you know, student newbie. So when you were feeding her and you said you slid her down, you were inside lying and then you slid her down, like, and it, like, what do you, like, you like moved her neck back, or?
She was latched. So I wait for her to get latched. And if you've ever seen like a baby sideline nursing, they sometimes will like kind of like get the shoulders up so that they feel like they can like get on there and latch. And that's usually like a body compensation. And so I'd wait for her to be latched. I'd wait for her to be like going, you know, so because you never want to like interrupt a baby right when they get on. But then I would take her by her hips and slide her towards my feet. And so she would stay latched. And what it would do is pull that chin forward and up. Amazing. That's like my like favorite thing to do.
Well, you go first, Catherine, then I have something to say.
I was just gonna say, like, it just sounds like it's really informed by your nursing, by like all of that background, you know, like perhaps if you didn't have that, then you wouldn't be like as comfortable to be like, no, I'm just gonna move her body this way, you know what I mean? So that's just, I think that's really cool.
I just think this whole thing is, well, first of all, like, I just love the whole idea of like our babies as our teachers, like, and I feel like my second baby was similar to this in the fact that I was like, I don't really want to go through the whole tongue and lip tie again if I don't have to. And like immediately I noticed that I don't think she had it as bad, but she did have a tight lip and she did have a tight neck. She was like, you know, and so I was like, okay, I know I'm going to have to do some body work stuff. And I have taken her to people like chiros and things, but I've also done it a lot on my own, just intuitively. And like watching your information online and stuff, I've been like doing a lot of like shoulder massages and like getting her to stretch out her neck. And I feel like her crawl is getting better. Like she's 8 months or almost 8 months now, but like I do think that you can kind of you know, of course, professionals are always so helpful, but it's also your mom gut and like using what you learn professionally and from providers to try to like work on it during nursing, because when they are feeding is when like, you know, like they're in whatever position we put them in. Like my daughter was always like in cross cradle like this. And then now if I noticed too that like when we would nurse at night inside lying, she would seem more relaxed. And like, I was like, why don't I just find a way to do that during the day? That's why laid back nursing is such a good position, like during the day, because we do crunch them up.
We mean to, but it's like, and it's not even our fault, because I actually think that we didn't used to do that like hundreds and hundreds of years ago. But the way that babies are pictured now is in the swaddle, in the car seat, in the mamaroo. And so we have this like interpretation of what babies look like this and like this, and that's not true. Like babies don't look like that. And even just like, you guys have seen the breast crawl, so when a baby comes out of the vagina and goes up to the chest, it will crawl, it will move on all 4 planes like it's supposed to. It'll turn its head and it'll find the breast. We don't let babies do that anymore. We immediately inhibit their movement. And so of course we picture them as these like kind of squishy, like curled up beings when they're really not. And I think,
and like even the whole thing about the startle reflex, like how we're actually supposed to let them startle and stuff. Like people are so freaked out about that and want to just swaddle them up, but it's like, no, you actually should like let them work out their reflex.
It makes so much sense, because when I worked in the NICU, like we had to be so good at swaddling because they can't get their IVs and stuff. So we swaddled their arms even down, like not across, like down. And when I had Sully, like I had swaddled her for a little while, but then I was like, why would I swaddle her? That's like what we did, like to like completely inhibit movement in the NICU so that they wouldn't pull their IVs out. But like, she's not sick. Like she needs to be able to move. And so
also in the NICU, they're trying to somewhat simulate like, okay, how it was in the womb, which maybe they do need more compression or whatever. But like, if this is a full-term baby out and about, they need to be moving and like doing that. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh, I love your story. Okay. So you went through the whole learning to become an IBCLC while learning to breastfeed her, fixing her airway issues, doing your magic. And then when did you, anything else you want to say on that story? And then before moving into your second baby.
No, that's pretty much it. I spent, like after I got licensed and like I said, Melissa started like being like, here, this is your person. These people are going to want to see you. I did then take like an actual infant bodywork modality. I took CFT, like the Gillespie class. I wasn't in love with it, but then I ended up being on their like database because I took it. And so I got a lot of clients for that. And people would come to me and I would be like, just so you know, I'm not going to do CFT on your baby.
Okay, wait, this is craniofacial therapy?
Craniosacrofacial therapy, the Gillespie method. Yeah.
Okay. And you mostly do, but you do.
No, I was doing completely my own thing. Like I was like going completely rogue. And I even had some moms that were like, well, I really want you to do CFT. And I was like, I'm the only person in Charlotte who does CFT on babies. And so they would come to me and I'd be like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do that. Like you don't want me to do that. You want me to do what I'm good at. You want me to do what I'm good at? Or do you want me to just like pretend to do this CFT thing that I don't agree with, I don't align with? So I'm like, I'm not going to be good at it. And so, yeah, some people didn't like that, but I had one lady, she was so funny. She was like very like disturbed by what I wanted to do. And so she went and saw someone else for like PT. And then a week later, her baby was in a helmet. And I was like, ma'am, I could have helped you. Like, come on. But whatever.
Yeah. Well, it's like, I just feel like, just as a side note, just about you as a person, like, I feel like your authenticity has really just helped like in your journey so much. Like the IBCLC being like, you would be a good IBCLC, you know what I mean? Because you're honest, like, and people respect that, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want someone ego driven and telling me whatever, all their letters after the name. I want someone to tell me what has worked and what does work based on their story and their truth. Anyway, go ahead.
I agree. And there's like 20-ish IBCLCs in the Charlotte area, and it's so like competitive. And I had someone reach out to me the other day and they were like, hey, just so you know, I heard that such and such midwife isn't going to refer to you anymore because you don't believe in frenectomies. And I was like, okay, like, but it's like,
you're not saying you don't believe in tongue ties. You're just saying I have a different approach that let's see if it works. Like,
oh, totally. And I have plenty of moms that go get a frenectomy. Like, don't get me wrong. If you want to go get one, that is not what I'm talking about. Please, let's make a plan. Let's go do it appropriately.
You're just saying, let me try to offer another approach to see, like,
and really what the best results that come by me are the ones that they've seen other lactation consultants or other chiropractors or providers who say you have to go get a frenectomy. And no one wants to be told that they have to do something. And a lot of women in this space, in this world right now, feel yuck about that. Like they're like, I don't know, I don't want to do a surgery. And so sometimes they just need education on what the frenectomy process looks like. And that's fine if they're like, you know, because I can feel them out. It's like, well, what are you worried about? And we walk through it. It's like, okay, it sounds like you do align with a frenectomy. Would you like me to explain the process to you so that you feel more informed? And then you can decide. And some women I can tell are like, that makes me want to cry thinking about my baby going through that. I can't do that. And it's like, okay, then you need another option, because how are we going to tell those women, even though that makes me want to cry, we're just going to go do that anyway? Or we say, or your baby will never breastfeed, or they'll develop airway issues. Like, we're not putting them in a place of like empowerment, making them feel good at all. They feel horrible, and it just keeps happening over and over again.
And how are we to know that? You know what I mean? Like, as professionals, like, how are we to know that if you don't get a frenectomy, your baby's not ever going to breastfeed? You know what I mean? Like,
they might be completely fine. Like,
and I think this is just so important to have this discussion, because it's like, okay, like, you are always in charge of your medical decisions for your family and your baby. And like, you can deal with every other surgery and, approach. It's like, you're going to always deal with whatever side effects come with the path that you choose. So like, maybe like with my daughter, like, maybe I could have gone this whole tongue tie route or lip tie route, and I wouldn't have had to be like working on these things.
Absolutely.
Like, the cost benefit for how, like, because she was doing so well, like, in my eyes, that I was like, I think we can address this from a holistic way.
And that's exactly what I tell moms. How are you going to sleep at night? Like, that's how you have to make your decision. I wouldn't be able to sleep letting my daughter go get a frenectomy. I've seen them. I wouldn't be able to do it. But if you are going to be up all night Googling, oh my gosh, her one tooth is turning in, does that mean the palate is too high? Is she going to have air? Like, if that is going to make you lose sleep, then maybe we should explore a frenectomy. Like, there's no right or wrong answer. It's about what's going to make you feel empowered as the mom. And also, your baby the best. So like, for us to say, well, statistically, if they do blah, 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 they're more likely to have blah, 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 blah. We might be able to say that as professionals, but a mom might look at her baby and be like, no, I don't think that's going to be a problem for my baby. Like, I just don't think that's going to be an issue. Like, solely, I was like, I see the tonsils and adenoids situation coming, but I don't see any problems with speech. Like, she was my baby. I was like, she's not going to have a problem with speech, but I could see the tonsils and adenoids thing coming. And so it's like, okay, I'm going to keep an eye on it. I'm going to mitigate it as it comes up. If down the road we need to do tonsils and adenoid surgery, guess what? They can do the frenectomy in there too, because she'll be asleep. So like, whatever, and these are just informed choices, just like with birth stuff. There's just informed choices.
And we always compare this to birth, because we're like, okay, if birth, we don't have all this, like, we do have, I guess there is some stigma and judgment, but it seems a little more accepting that, like, you know what, we don't have quite as much control over everything with birth. And like, we have different things that we want to try, but like, whatever. But same thing with feeding journeys. And that's honestly why we want to do this podcast, because we're like, if we bring more light to different feeding journeys, then maybe people will realize that like, you're just making the decisions that you can at the time. And okay, what happened?
Nothing is really urgent. Like, there is no urgency. As long as you can save breastfeeding in some way for a period of time while you make a decision, there is no urgency.
And you always, you always have a choice, like, I think if you're ever talking to a professional and they act like you don't have a choice,
you need to run away.
Like, because you always do. So anyway,
I agree.
Okay, so then how did you approach it with number 2?
So with my second pregnancy, I made it a point to do all of the like preventative tongue tie things. I was obviously I took folic acid with Soli, so I didn't do that anymore. I was also eating meat. We were vegan when I was pregnant with Soli, and I wasn't vegan anymore, so I was eating a lot of meat. I was doing a lot of movement, because I have a really fundamental belief that like everyone is so hyperfixated on this MTFHR genetic mutation right now, because we feel safe as a society saying like, oh, well, what can you do? It's a genetic mutation. What are we going to do? We can't help it. But what we don't like is hearing that there are things we can do to prevent something, because then we feel like we need to like take all this blame if it doesn't go the way we want it to. But I fundamentally believe that our sitting is the main problem. I really do. Every baby that I see now in person, before the mom even tells me, I'll be like, this mom works in an office. And then I let her talk, and I look at and I say, do you work? Are you going back to work? Yeah, I work. Where do you work? Oh, blah, 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 banking, something. Do you sit at a desk all day? Yes. I can see it on your baby so clearly that they spent their entire 9 months like this, and we might be not having the feeding difficulties that we're having right now had you been a hunter-gatherer and walking and squatting and like moving,
Yes.
you know, which is like, I'm not saying we need to just totally
all be hunter-gatherers, but
we need to be mindful of movement. If you work in an office, I strongly believe you should have like one of those walking desks if you're pregnant, because you got to keep moving. You got to move those hips and move the pelvis and create space in your belly.
And get the baby to be in a better position so they're not all coming out all tight. Yes.
It's so critically important. It's so important. So I did a lot of that. And I ended up, when I was like 35 weeks pregnant, getting something like meningitis. They did hundreds of tests. They couldn't figure out what was wrong. I was like deathly ill and hospitalized like for like a week. And then my water broke, and I was planning first like a home birth, but then I asked my midwife not to even come. I was planning a free birth, and but then I was sick. I was like in the hospital, and he was 35 weeks. So I was like, okay, I'll just deliver him at the hospital. I still know all my people here. I told them no one's allowed to touch me. So I still like kind of like had a free birth where I was like, no one touch me. I'm going to deliver this baby. And then you guys can check on him.
Yeah.
We can all feel good about that. And I felt really sick. So I had like 105-degree fever while I was in labor. It was horrible. And he came out really hot. So he ended up going to the NICU, which I was okay with because it was just a bad situation. But knowing what I know and being who I am, I was all over them in the NICU. I said, do not feed this baby. Do not feed him. This is my baby. He had bubble CPAP on, which is like a breathing device, and they can't breastfeed when they have that on. So I went in, I said, when is his room air trial? And they said, tomorrow. I said, incorrect. It's right now. We're going to take it off. We're going to see how he does. And if he does well, I said, I'm going to breastfeed him. And they were like, okay, that's fine. So he did fine.
Really?
And so
You're amazing.
With my 105-degree fever, all alone too, because my husband had to go get our daughter at home, I would walk. It was such a long walk from the postpartum to NICU. I would walk to the NICU every 2 hours. I would beat them before care times because I was like, they're going to try and feed him. I know they are. Like, they're sneaky in there. And I was like, I'm going to beat them and I'm going to breastfeed him every time. Sick is not even like the words. I felt my liver enzymes were like so high. They were like, are you sure you're not an alcoholic? I was like, no, I'm not an alcoholic. Like, I was just really, really sick. And
oh my
so
God.
Anyway, we survived. My fever actually broke like the day after he was born. His fever came down. He got to go home, I think, on day 2 or 3. So wasn't the worst situation ever, but obviously not an ideal start. And he was 35 weeks. So he was a little sleepy.
Wait, I did not realize we have so many parallels, but it's opposite. My son was 35 weeks, but we stayed in the NICU. But we stayed in the NICU for 3 weeks. But because it was my first and he was But
I was like, listen, I'm a lactation consultant, I'm a nurse, I will watch him, but I'm taking him home. Like, he is okay.
They did not let me, but I wasn't. You sound very confident. I think I was probably like, it's fine, we'll stay.
Yeah.
Even though inside I was like, let's go home.
I really felt like I had to like allow certain things that I normally wouldn't have allowed so that I could get us home sooner. Like they wanted to, since I wouldn't let them feed him, they want to know the amount of what he's eating. They were like, well, then we have to do blood sugars every feed, which I would have normally said no to, but I felt like, okay, if I can prove that his sugars are fine, then they'll let him come home earlier. So it was kind of like, I felt yucky about that.
But it's awesome you had like the confidence of a second-time mom to be like, I know how to feed this baby. Like, I'll be fine. Like, I feel like I was still trying to get my milk in because it was the first time. And
and they were like saying I wasn't making enough milk. I was like, shh, guys, like, come on, stop it. Like,
well, it is a dance. Sorry to interrupt, but like between like, because like you don't want to be, if you're so like, yeah, I'm gonna breastfeed, you have to make concessions, or else like there could be other consequences of like,
the NICU is a super tricky place because they really have a lot of control over your baby. They can have 2 doctors sign off on anything that overrides what you want to do with your babies, which is really scary, really horrible. And I knew that. And so I was just trying to like play nice while being very assertive. And I think that worked for just getting us home as soon as possible.
That's awesome. And how did he do when
he nursed great? Like, he was a great breastfeeder. Even day 1, like I was like, so thankful because I knew that if he wasn't a great nurser, then it would be less likely for us to like go home. But I was like, he's great. He's doing great. And he was huge. He was 7 pounds for 35 weeks. So
Oh, wow.
he was fine. And when we got home, he was just, I mean, it was like night and day, like between him and my daughter. He nursed and then he would sleep for like 4 or 5 hours. And then he'd nurse and and he was huge. Like he was getting so big so fast. And we would eat dinner and he would be asleep on the table, like just completely asleep on the table, just so relaxed.
Amazing.
I was doing my body work on him day one. Like he was like the best. He still is. He's the best baby. I'm obsessed with him. He's still breastfeeding a ton. And he's
so
like
good.
He's the sweetest. And it was such a like, I think that we have like redemptive babies, even if we don't get into this field, but I really felt like he was like such a shining example of like, I believe all these things about my work. I believe all these things professionally. And this is my proof that like what I believe, I think works, for babies.
Oh my God.
Like I have friends or like friends of friends that are like, my baby doesn't sleep. They don't, want to nurse. It's like, I want to help you so badly. They aren't asking me for help, so I'm not going to give it. But like,
right.
I know I could help you. Like,
yeah,
I could help. And it's just so, but it's really special that it at least has helped my family. And like, I talk about this with Sully all the time. Like I go to sleep every night. They're in my bed. I love having them in my bed. I go to sleep every night. And the last thing I do before I close my eyes is I look at her and I just am like, I can't believe her mouth is closed. I can't believe she sleeps so good. I can't believe she's literally the healthiest girl that I've ever met. She's so vibrant and so wonderful. And I have pictures of her as like a 6-month-old and she was gray. Like she looked lifeless. Yeah. And it's like so insane to me just how different she looks and like how good my son looks without me having to hardly even do anything because I did all this like prep work instead versus like doing stuff on the back end like I did with my daughter. And it's just really cool. And I'm obsessed with my work.
Yes.
Wow.
Amazing. I mean,
like in my
yeah, because it really does help like set the foundation for like their craniofacial growth, like their, their breathing patterns, their nervous system, like being calm, like,
attachment, their attachment to you, knowing that they have a mom that's going to fight to like for them, going to learn about their development, going to learn about what's going on with their unique needs. Like that's a security as an infant that you're like, okay, I'm okay in this world, That's awesome.
Oh yeah.
Love it. Oh my gosh. Wow. I love your story. I'm obsessed with this.
There's so many things that I could talk more about. And I do want to touch like before we close on, okay, first of all, well, that's kind of a setup question, but I was going to ask, do you think your lifestyle changes in terms of diet? Like you have your master's in nutrition did affect like the second birth and whatnot. And do you want to speak a little bit about that?
Even how well he did as a preemie, like that's amazing.
I fundamentally believe. I mean, first of all, my second pregnancy, I wasn't nearly as sick. Like with Sully, I threw up every day, 9 months, multiple times a day, could not eat anything but like pretty much sugar. And with Bowie, I had like first trimester like sickness, but like mostly I like ate lots of meat. I ate lots of like broth and fish, and like I just felt so good. And even just like moving, like the movement, like with Sully, I watched the entire season or series of Grey's Anatomy while I was pregnant with her. And then I worked night shift 36 hours a week at the hospital. So like
the life,
I'm sorry, but that was just not breeding healthy babies. Like, and I know that I know when we're pregnant, I know that we're like, oh, but I'm tired. I got to lay down. And yes, we do need to rest, but also we need to get up. Like and I'm so excited for my next baby when I have to milk a cow my entire pregnancy. What that is going to do for my body is like phenomenal in my mind.
Oh my gosh. And for that baby's body.
Seriously. I mean, I just picture it as being like majestic, like and
beautiful.
And it's not even just eating meat, but it's like learning. I took someone's class and I really liked it. Learning about our biology and our cells and how our body like creates energy, and then like formulating my diet based off of that like made a lot of sense to me. And I agree that I think that's why I gave birth to such a robust premature baby, sick premature baby, very sick. He was very sick.
High
Like,
fever, all this stuff.
yeah, he was extremely sick, and yet he totally fine. Like 12 hours, and he was like, fine. I could have taken him home. In fact, I regret. I was like, we should have stayed home. Like, but I didn't know.
But
at the time.
good to be careful.
Just
But
to be safe, I was like, no, it's fine. But once I checked on him in there, I was like, oh, we should have stayed home.
baby's fine. You're like 7 pounds. He's basically he's fine.
I was like, he's perfect. He weighs as much as Sully did. She was 39 weeks.
Right.
Oh my god,
It's really cool.
Amazing.
And I think like watching them, like especially with like their food now, like we like got a cold last week or something, and like both my kids, it was so fascinating to see like their diet adjusted. Like normally they're very like meat, fruit, like raw milk. They, love that. But when they were sick, they both were asking me for orange juice. They both wanted me to make soup with broth. They were just drinking the broth. They weren't eating the food out of it. Like, it's like so intuitive. Cool because they're so intuitive with their eating because they've been set up for success that I just think that's like the coolest thing.
Yeah. Wow. Right. Yeah. Like the sharing stories, the fact that you can say like with my first baby, I was working 12-hour shifts, like, all these things of like, there's no shame in it. You're just like, okay. And now with my second baby, I can do better. Like,
yeah, no, I often use the whole point. The analogy of like one time Sully was 2 and I like snapped at her. I like totally lost it. I snapped at her. And that I feel shame about because I know better than to yell at a 2-year-old. But what I feel no shame about is the fact that I was vegan, the fact that like I had that horrible first birth, like because I didn't know. And like when you know better, you do better. So like that's how I feel about moms that like get the frenectomy with their first and deeply regret it. And they come to me and they're so upset. And it's like, you don't have to be upset. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like
that was one way to approach it that you knew at the time. Yeah.
That felt like the right thing for you to do at that time. And that is totally okay. There's no shame in that. But no, and just like being empowered and being learning in like every season. Like I'm still learning about what's going to be the best thing for them.
Yeah. And if you're hearing this and you're like, okay, but yeah, I that's my job. I have to work 12-hour shifts. I have to be sitting at a computer all day. It's like, we have so many ways that we can be creative. Like you said, like walking pad or like just going on a walk every day, or just like doing squats in your office, like set an alarm every time you go to the bathroom, like go do some squats if you're pregnant.
You could do. And I even am of the belief that we have a lot more choices than we think we do. Like my husband, when he was like, you can't quit your job, we need the income. And I'm like, we're going to have to make it work. And like, we really had to tighten our budget, like to a really uncomfortable level, but like, it was more important for me to be home with my kids. So sometimes now when I see clients, I say, hey, what's the situation? Can you quit your job? And they're like, what? I had a woman I saw recently, she was a doctor. And I was like, this baby really needs you. Like, can you quit your job? And she did. She quit her job. I'm sure her husband hated me, but she quit her job.
And she made me quit my job.
And she saved breastfeeding just by holding this baby, which it was like, I was like, this baby needs you to hold her. That's the problem. And she was like, I'll go back to work when she's 1. And I was like, I love that. We have a lot of options. We just think we don't sometimes. And we put ourselves in this kind of like box of like, I don't have any choices. We actually have plenty of choices. It's just some are more uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And you sharing the story of having healthy children that when they're sick, they intuitively know to drink orange juice. Like, think about how much you are, like, if you were looking for financially, like saving in like care, you know what I mean? Like,
my kids have never been to the doctor. Like, we don't even have health insurance. And, so like, maybe we should, but we don't currently. My husband and I both own our own business, so it's a little tricky, but like, we don't pay for those things. And even like, like you think about like tubes procedures that like a lot of kids are getting, or whatever, all kinds of things, dental issues for like teeth. My kids I don't pay for anything like that. And we don't pay for formula. Like, we are saving money in the long run. It's just different.
And having healthy children is invaluable. Like, you would do literally anything I would quit my life. Like, what I mean? Like, it's just, beautiful.
Love this discussion. This is great. Wait, we do try to ask everyone, what is your best advice that you would give your former self, like when you were really in the thick of it, going through the challenges, like not being able to breastfeed, she's crying all the time. Like, what do you wish you could have told yourself at that time?
I think about this all the time. I wish I would have told myself, go outside. Go outside. Like, you cannot solve a problem in the situation the problem created. Go outside. And like, I tell moms this all the time, like, eat some food, go outside, stop trying to fix the breastfeeding issues until you've really fixed yourself, like fueled yourself up, because I was not in a place where I was able to work on that. I was just like spiraling, you know?
Yeah.
And
and anxiety, like they do feed off our anxiety. Like even now, like without a doubt, if I ever like plan a call after bedtime or something, then my son takes like an hour to fall asleep. No, well, he can feel my energy that I want him to fall asleep. So then he doesn't.
Or they fall asleep and wake up like 10 minutes later. And you're like, I'm sorry, what? You've never done that.
Like you always sleep for like 2 hours, then you get in my bed.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. They're so sensitive to us. And that's because they
are attached.
They perceive safety through us. So if they don't know that our anxiety is about them eating, but they know that we have anxiety and we're worried about them. And so then they're like terrified, you know?
Yeah.
And that is what kept them alive in the womb. You know what I mean? That co-regulation. Like, so it's like, duh, it's going to keep going after birth. And it's what kind of keeps them alive, like,
forever. Them knowing, well, at least until they're like independent people, but like, especially in infancy or like the first 5 years, like they need to know that they are attached to you for them to feel safe to like explore the world, basically.
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you so much, Emily.
Thank you.
Thank y'all for having me.
Yeah.
Love
so
this.
awesome.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Okay.
Emily, where can people find you? Or do you want to,
I'm on Instagram at The Love of Breastfeeding, and my course is in my bio link, and that's all the body work I did on Soleil to avoid the tongue tie release and then the tonsils and adenoid surgery. And then if you want to book an appointment, you can book an appointment through my bio link as well. And then my student and our podcast is launching.
Oh, you're doing one too. Oh my gosh. That's so exciting. What's it called? Or have you not?
It's called Maiden's Path, Mother's Roots. So it should be very cool. I'm very excited about it.
Oh my gosh.
When is it launching?
Our first episode comes out this Monday.
Okay. We will be listening.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. See you, Emily.
Bye, you guys.
Thank you guys so much for listening. If you are interested in learning more about attachment feeding or have any feedback for us at all, please email us at thefeedinghourpodcast@gmail.com. You can also sign up for our email list in the link in the show notes to be the first to know when a new episode is released. See you next time, and happy feeding.